മേപ്പേലല്ല നിപ്പളി മുന്നൂറിലേറെ ചിപ്പയളി തച്ചോളി മേപ്പയിലും വന്നിക്കല്ലോ തച്ചോളി മേപ്പയിലേ വന്നോണ്ടിട്ട് പൊന്നിനും പാണത്തിനും ചോദിക്കുന്നു അത് താനേ കേട്ട കൂറുപ്പന്നോറ് കാപ്പന വിളിച്ചും പറയുന്നുണ്ട്.
We began our long journey across the picturesque Malabar in our quest to understand and learn more about the most dangerous but little-known weapon of the Kalari martial arts, the Churutwal, better known as the Urumi. We arrived at Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala's capital city, during the harvest festival of Onam. There was an air of festivity all around. Bright lights lit up the streets and musicians played traditional instruments. Here we chanced upon our very first demonstration of the Urumi. The mesmerizing performances of the Urumi gave us a glimpse of how dangerous this weapon can be, both to the opponent and to the user. Twirling the double-edged flexible sword produces a terrifying whirling sound as it slices through the air at great speed. The slightest error causes the sharp blade to recoil at the user, sometimes causing grievous injury. To learn more about the Urumi, we decided to visit one of the institutions teaching this ancient martial arts in Thiruvananthapuram. CVN Kalari is named after C.V. Narayanan Nair, the person who revived Kalari in the 1930s as an art form. Running the Kalari now is his son Gurukul Govindan Kutti Nair. The master still vividly remembers the first time he held an Urumi.
ഞാൻ മുമ്പ് പാലക്കാട് ഒരു ആവശ്യത്തിന് പോയപ്പോൾ അവിടെ ഒരു സെമിനാറിന് പോയപ്പോൾ
I saw it long back when I attended a seminar in Palakkad. It was from a collection of V.I. Mannadiyar, who was an honorary captain in the military. The Urumi that I held was quite thin and trembled in my hands. When I held it, it was standing straight on the hilt. Both the edges of the Urumi were very sharp.
There is no defined technical specification for the Urumi. Its length, weight and type are known to vary. Legend has it the Urumi extended to 12 feet and sometimes beyond. These claims have never been authenticated. There are references to Urumis with as many as 7 double-edged blades of 1 inch width each attached to the same hilt. Today, no such piece is known to exist. However, the most popular Urumi has been the single blade design. Its length ranges between 4.5 to 5.5 feet and its width between 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. There is also a double-bladed Urumi, but it is seldom used beyond stage performances like this one. The sheer difficulty of mastering the Urumi, combined with its lethal power of destruction, has given it a prominent place in the ballads of northern Malabar. These songs are in praise of heroic warriors of the past. One such legendary figure is Tacholi Otinan. A master of Kalari Patu, Otinan used the Urumi to vanquish many an enemy. Otinan is now seen as a symbol of Malayali consciousness and identity. With him has grown the legend of the serpentine sword's mystical powers. To attain a basic level of competence with the Urumi, the user has to go through years of rigorous training in the Kalaripayat martial art tradition. The Urumi is the last weapon to be taught after a student has mastered all the others. The Malayalam word Kalaripayat is a combination of the words Kalari or gymnasium and Payat meaning to exercise. The origins of Kalaripayat can be traced accurately as far as the 4th century to sage Parasurama. He is also said to be the mythical creator of Kerala, credited with instituting 108 Kalaris all over the land. References to the Kalaripayat martial art system are found in ancient Hindu scriptures like the Dhanurveda. Another important source of the Kalaripayat traditions with references to the Urumi is the collection of Vatakan Pattukal, or the ballads of Malabar. Kalaripayat is based on the traditions of respect and obeisance for the human body, the weapon, the Gurukul, and the deity of war. The presiding deity of war, Bhadra, is placed on top of the 7 tapering semicircular steps on the southwest corner of the Kalari. Over the years, the essence of this Malabar martial arts system has undergone a transformation. From a system used in training combat soldiers and bodyguards for the ruling classes to that of a performing art. This adaptation is perhaps responsible for keeping this ancient tradition alive. Training in Kalaripayat begins at the young age of 7. The student starts at the first level of Kalaripayat called the Maithari. Maithari involves a series of 12 steps, each enhancing the level of flexibility and movement of the body. The aim is to make the body supple and as sensitive as the eye. It is this conditioning of the body and the mind which ultimately helps master the Urumi. The second level, Kolthari, consists of training with a series of wooden weapons. The aim is to orient the students to the weight and feel of the weapons and to instill in them an appreciation and respect for the art they are learning. After the Kolthari stage, the students graduate to the Angatari. This, the final level of training, involves the use of metal weapons like daggers, swords and spears.
training of Urumi comes as a final part of the training, and it is basically an extension of the training you receive in the sword and shield training. So sword and shield is what takes up most of the time of training, because you are learning to use the shield and then with the sword, and then when the weapon changes into an Urumi, you have to develop certain skills where you move continuously so that you don't break the flow of the movement of the sword. And not many people reach that stage. Very few of the students are taught Urumi.
The Urumi is the last weapon to be taught in the Angatari stage of the Kalari martial arts. Few end up mastering the Urumi, as it takes up to 15 years of intense practice to master. Dedicated exponents like Gurukul Raghavan of Khattanad Kalari are keeping the tradition alive. Today he is passing on the skills to the next generation.
കിട്ടിയിട്ടില്ല, ഉറപ്പാണ്. ഞാൻ കഴിയുന്നിടത്തോളം പഠിച്ച കാര്യങ്ങൾ
I am trying my best to teach and pass on what I learned from my teachers.
അത്
I will show you how I teach them.
നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഞാൻ നേരിൽ കാണിച്ചു തരാം.
Trading with the Urumi starts with the traditional ritual of paying respects to the deity and then offering Guru Dakshina to the Guru in the form of a pan leaf and touching his feet. Confronting the Urumi for the first time is a thrilling experience, even for the most adept of students. The long slashing blade with its song of death, coupled with its liquid and rhythmic movement, instills a deep sense of respect and fear.
Started first the body exercise, then I go to about the weapons. That's a long stick, then chervadi, then ota, and then extra. At last from 12 years I am practicing Urumi for 2 years.
Interestingly, training and wielding of the Urumi is not restricted to the male bastion. Easily concealed and wrapped around the waist, the Urumi was a popular weapon of self-defense for the women of Kerala. The counterpart of the fabled Malabar hero Othinan is Uniyarcha, the female heroine whose bravery is extolled in the ballads of northern Malabar. The decline of the Kerala military system and Kalari, of which Urumi was an intrinsic part, began soon after the Malabar province was ceded in favor of the British by the Treaty of Sarangapatnam in 1792. Soon after the secession, a number of revolts broke out in Malabar led by Pazahasi Raja. The British faced fierce resistance from the Nayar soldiers who were trained in Kalari. On April 22, 1804, Lord William Bentinck, President and General in Council at Fort St. George in erstwhile Madras, issued an order against the manufacture, possession and training with weapons or any form of martial arts. This effectively dealt a death blow to the Kalaris. Despite the ban, the Urumi survived. Ironically, it was due to the unwitting contribution of two European inventions, the gramophone and the clock. Each of these seemingly harmless and unrelated objects possessed one very important component, the main coil spring. Pre-strengthened, tempered and around the same dimensions as the classic blade, these coil springs gave birth to a new breed of Urumis. Ironically, we still had not come across an original Urumi. None of the Kalaris we had visited owned such a piece. Heading north, we passed to the city of Cochin, where we met Gopi, the curator of the Hill Palace Museum. This museum houses one of the best collections of the Kalari weapons.
We have no Urumi in our museum. We are searching about it. While organizing this museum in 1987, we feel that there is a deficiency of Urumi, because we have collected weapons from different parts of Kerala. We have collected swords, daggers, choppers, and spears and shields, etc. But there is no Urumi in our museum.
But Gopi did shed some light on the origins of the term Urumi.
I think that the word Urumi is the derived form of Urumal. Urumal, which can be used or which is used as a handkerchief also. It can be used as a waist cloth. Urumi can be used as a belt also. There is some antique shops at Mattancherry and these curious shops at Mattancherry, and most probably if you search for it, it can be available at the antique shops.
The antique dealers of the famous Jew Street in Cochin could shed very little information on whether an original had survived the passage of time.
I don't have any right now. I remember having seen it long ago in my father's collection. I only have a vague memory of it. I thought it was an unimportant thing. My father explained to me what it was. It was sort of coiled into a roll, and when it is opened, it is nearly 15 feet long. Nowadays, one hardly comes across any original piece. What you can find in the present-day Kalari centers, I imagine, is they take out the spring coil of a gramophone, which is good steel, good enough for Urumi.
Sunil Kumar, a resident of Kozhikode, is an exponent of the Urumi. We asked him to demonstrate and also explain some of the steps of practicing with the weapon.
This is the way of holding an Urumi. Before using it, you have to roll it. Hold it with 2 fingers. Release the hold just before using it.
I'm showing you the foot movements for using the Urumi. This is for the measurement of the foot movement. This step is called elephant pose. For that we are taking this measurement. For the circular movement, we are using this much of movement. And another is straight movement like this. The movements like this, the long step, and for slashing, we go like this, going forward like that, and going back like this. And for circular movement, we stay like this and slash, go like this, and stepping movement like this. We'll go like this, and forth like this. Urumi is a very dangerous weapon. This weapon has to be used with speed. If it is not used with speed, it can inflict injury on the user. I cannot show how the Urumi moves in slow movement, but again I am showing it in slow movement with the help of a straight sword.
To earn a living and support his passion for the Kalari traditions, Sunil Kumar now works closely with the film industry, often choreographing fights.
I got some offers from Malayalam films. I did stunts from heroes like Mammootty, Mohanlal, and I did choreography also. Now I am getting more offers from Hindi movies. I did the fight sequence for Ashoka.
On our request, Sunil arranged and supervised an Ankam. An Ankam was a duel between two established and paid warriors, often to the death. In ancient times, the Ankam was used as a popular means to settle differences between fiefdoms, villages, and even individuals. The weapon of choice was often the sword, but the most spectacular sight was a duel with the Urumi. People from villages all around would gather to watch this fight to the death. As an art and tradition, the Urumi now has a limited following. The level of dedication in terms of time and effort is considerable. Added to this is the risk of injury in using the Urumi.
മാണിക്കോത്തും തന്നെ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട് പൊന്നിനും പാണത്തിനും ചോദിക്കുന്നേ അത് താനെ കേട്ടല്ലോ കുഞ്ഞുതേനം.
Will this ancient martial art survive the modern age? The answer is yes. The dedication of the present masters and their students is ample proof that the traditions of Kalari will continue to thrive for generations to come. Will the Urumi ever gain popular appeal as the sword and the dagger have? Unlikely, but that is the way it should be. For the Urumi is a very special weapon. And as one of the masters explained to us, the Urumi chooses its own exponents and only allows a few to master itself.